The galaxy had seen many wars, but none were as long or as brutal as the ones ruled by the Varkon Dominion. For more than 200 years, the Varkon armies controlled almost every battlefield. They were powerful, merciless, and proud. Every species feared their metal boots, their burning plasma cannons, and their giant warships that crossed star systems like storms. To the rest of the galaxy, defeat felt normal. Resistance felt pointless. Hope felt dead. The Varkans liked it this way. They believed their rule would last forever. They believed no one could challenge them. And for a long time, they were right. But on a cold and silent day, deep inside the Dominion's war sector, something changed. At the largest Varkon military station, thousands of officers stood inside the war hall. The hall was built of black steel, shaped like a giant claw rising toward the sky. At the center, a glowing star map showed all active battles across the galaxy. Red lights meant Varkon victories, and almost the entire map was red. The Varkon High Commander, a tall creature covered in dark armor and scales, looked at the map with a satisfied smile. Every warfront was under control. Every enemy was pushed back. There was no threat left in the galaxy, or so he believed. Suddenly, one of the scanners flashed with a strange blue warning. A soft alarm echoed across the war hall. Officers turned quickly. The warning sound was unfamiliar. It had never been heard before. "Report," the High Commander said, his voice sharp. A young Varkon officer typed fast on the hollow panel. His hands shook slightly. "Sir, an unknown object has entered the outer star field." "Unknown? You mean unregistered?" "Identify it." "No, sir," the officer said, shaking his head. "It is truly unknown. Our system cannot read its origin, model, size, or energy class." The room fell silent. That had never happened before. The Varkon scanners were the most advanced in the galaxy. They could identify anything: ships, rocks, life forms, even cloaked objects. But this time, the screen showed nothing except a bright blue shape. "Show us," the commander ordered. The hologram zoomed in. A single large object drifted through deep space, moving slowly but with unbelievable power. Energy waves pulsed around it like a heartbeat. The object was far bigger than any Varkon battleship. Its shape was smooth, silent, and terrifyingly calm, like a giant metal beast waking from sleep. The officers whispered nervously. "What species built this? How is it so big? Why can't we scan it?" Then someone asked the question nobody wanted to speak. "Could it be humans?" That word froze the room. Humans were not considered a major power. They were not aggressive, not fast, not dominant. They had been attacked many years ago and nearly destroyed. After that, they stayed quiet, rebuilding in isolated systems far away from the main galaxy. The Varkans never bothered to finish them off because humans were too small to matter. But over the last decade, strange rumors spread across space. Rumors that humanity was secretly building something powerful, something meant to end wars. The Varkans had laughed at those rumors. They were not laughing now. The High Commander felt a chill run across his armored spine. "Track its course," he ordered. The officer gulped. "Sir, the object is heading directly toward Varkon territory." A second alarm rang. This one was louder, sharper, urgent. "The energy level is rising," another officer shouted. "It's releasing some kind of pulse. Our long-range sensors are failing." Lights across the war hall flickered. Panels shut down. The star map turned black. The entire station shook, as if something massive had just passed by. The High Commander slammed his fist on the table. "Send scout ships." Immediately, within minutes, 10 fast Varkon scout ships launched into space. They moved like silver arrows, racing toward the unknown object. Everyone inside the war hall watched the live feeds. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Then the first scout feed turned to static. Then the second. Then the third. All 10 signals vanished. No explosion. No debris. No sound. Just silence. The High Commander's voice dropped to a whisper. "What kind of ship can erase scouts without firing a single shot?" A final alert flashed on the screen. "The unknown object has entered Varkan's sector." and with it came a message broadcast in a human voice, a calm voice, a confident voice. Prepare yourselves. Humanity has returned. For years, the galaxy believed humanity was weak, quiet, and wounded. After the old attack that nearly destroyed Earth, most species assumed humans would never rise again. The Varkon Dominion especially believed this. They saw humans as nothing more than a footnote in history, a species too soft to survive the harshness of the stars. They were wrong. Far beyond the crowded lanes of the galaxy, in a hidden region of space, humanity had been building something extraordinary. Under the leadership of the United Human Command, thousands of engineers, scientists, soldiers, and AI systems worked in silence. They rebuilt old worlds, reclaimed lost technology, and created new weapons unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. This secret program had a name whispered only in the deepest vaults. Project Final Dawn. The crown of this project was the impossible creation, humanity's final flagship. It was not just a warship. It was a symbol, a promise, a warning. And now it had awakened. Inside the flagship's command chamber, Captain Aiden Rourke stood at the center platform. He was a calm man, with sharp eyes that had seen too many battles. Around him, holographic screens floated like stars. Lines of code, tactical maps, and energy readings shifted constantly. Behind him, a soft mechanical voice spoke. Energy core stable. Shields at full capacity. All systems online. This voice belonged to Eve, the flagship's advanced AI. She was created not just to assist, but to predict, learn, and evolve. She could control every weapon, every engine, every drone, even faster than any human pilot. Rourke nodded. Status on Varkon scouts? Destroyed. Eve replied, her tone calm. Non-lethal containment fields were used. No biological remains detected. Rourke sighed. They will see that as an attack. They already saw us as prey, Eve answered. Now they will see the truth. Below the command chamber, hundreds of human soldiers prepared for the mission. Their armor glowed with faint blue lines, powered by miniature energy cores. Their weapons were clean, sharp, and silent, designed for speed, not chaos. But despite their power, every soldier felt the same thing. This moment would decide humanity's future. On the other side of the galaxy, panic was spreading inside the Varkon Dominion. After the scouts vanished, more alarms activated. More systems failed. The war hall crackled with nervous energy. Officers shouted over each other, tried to explain the impossible. The High Commander tried to maintain control, but fear had entered even his armored bones. Locate the ship, he ordered. Trying, sir, an officer stammered. But every time we scan it, our systems overload. It's like the ship bends space around itself. Another officer looked up from his panel. His expression was pale, his breathing heavy. Sir, the energy signature, it is growing. This ship is not just large. It is beyond anything in our records. The commander clenched his teeth. Contact the Emperor. Far away, inside the Varkon Palace, the Emperor listened. His throne room was quiet. Two giant statues of old Varkon warlords stood behind him like ghosts from the past. When he heard the report, his claws tightened around the armrest. Humans, he growled. I should have finished them long ago. He stood, long armor plates sliding into place. Prepare the Dominion fleet. We will destroy this ship before it reaches our core worlds. But even he did not know the full truth. The final flagship did not come to attack blindly. It came with purpose. Back on the human ship, Captain Rourke watched the star map shift. The Dominion fleets were moving, gathering, preparing. Eve, he said quietly, begin transmission. A soft blue glow filled the chamber as the ship sent a message across space. Not a threat, a warning. Varkon Dominion. This is Captain Aiden Rourke of humanity's final flagship. We do not seek your destruction, but we will not allow your tyranny to continue. Stand down or face the dawn. The last words echoed like thunder through the galaxy. Billions heard it. Millions felt hope for the first time. And deep inside the Dominion, fear grew like fire. The final war had begun. The message from humanity's final flagship spread across the galaxy like lightning. Every outpost, every pirate station, every hidden rebel base heard it. Some species cheered softly. Some cried. Some simply stared at the sky, wondering if this was real. But inside the Varkon Dominion, the reaction was very different. Fear. Cold. Silent. Growing fear. Inside the war hall, the atmosphere had changed completely. The once confident officers now moved with tight jaws, shaky hands, and nervous eyes. Their red holographic displays kept flickering each time the human ship's signal passed through space. The High Commander slammed his fist on the table. Why does the ship interfere with our systems? I want answers. An engineer turned, sweating under his helmet. Sir, the interference is not an attack. It is natural. The ship's energy core is releasing waves we cannot understand. What kind of waves? The commander barked. The engineer swallowed hard. Sir, it bends space. The room fell silent again. Only the Emperor's heavy breathing broke the quiet as he entered the hall. His armor glowed with bright red lines, showing his rising anger. His voice thundered across the chamber. Prepare every fleet, every weapon, every ship. We will crush these humans before they spread their lies. But even he felt something cold inside his chest, a feeling Varkans had not felt for centuries. Doubt, a silent giant in the dark. Meanwhile, the human flagship continued moving through the stars. Its surface shimmered with silver-blue light, like a sleeping sun wrapped in armor. Thousands of metal plates shifted as energy flowed beneath them. Inside the command chamber, Captain Aiden Rourke watched the star map quietly. Eve, show me Varkon fleet positions. Holograms appeared instantly. Hundreds of red dots gathered like storm clouds ahead of them. They are forming a blockade, Eve said. Rourke nodded. Expected. But what surprised him was the pattern of ships. They're moving faster than before, he said. Yes, Eve replied. Fear increases motivation. Rourke allowed himself a small smile. Good. That means they understand what they're facing. But then Eve paused. There is something else, she said. Rourke turned. What is it? A faint energy signature. Familiar. Very old. Rourke frowned. Location. Eve zoomed in on a dark region of space. No stars. No planets. Just emptiness. It is coming from inside a dead zone, she explained. Dead zones were areas where signals never returned. No one knew why. Ships entered but rarely came back. Is it Varkon tech? Rourke asked. No, Eve answered. It is human. Rourke's blood ran cold. Human, he whispered. From where? I cannot identify, Eve said. But whatever it is waking up. The Dominion strikes. On the other side of the galaxy, the Varkon Dominion launched its first attack. A wave of 50 fast interceptors rushed toward the human flagship. They were small but deadly, each carrying nuclear plasma cores. Inside one interceptor, pilot Karsic breathed quickly. He had fought hundreds of battles. He feared nothing. Until today. Target in sight, he whispered. Through his visor, he saw the human flagship floating in the distance. The ship looked calm, quiet, unmoving. Why doesn't it defend? The co-pilot asked. Because it is arrogant, Karsic replied. Like all humans. But deep inside, he wasn't sure. The squadron leader shouted through the comms. All fighters, prepare to fire. Plasma missile located. The human flagship did nothing. Fire. A storm of fire, light, and heat rushed toward the massive ship. And then, everything vanished. Not exploded. Not deflected. Just vanished. The missiles dissolved into soft blue particles before touching the hull. What happened? Karsic screamed. Then the ship spoke. Not loud. Not angry. Calm. Your attack has been neutralized. Go home. The Varkon interceptors turned around, forced by an invisible energy wave, like hands pushing them away. In the war hall, the High Commander watched in disbelief. What kind of weapon is that? He shouted. The engineer answered with a shaking voice. Sir, that wasn't a weapon. It was gravity. The Emperor's voice dropped to a whisper. This flagship is not a ship. It is a warning. The failed interceptor attack shook the Varkon Dominion to its core. For the first time in living memory, An enemy ship had stopped their assault without firing a single shot. Every officer who watched the footage felt something rise slowly inside their chest. Fear. Across the war hall, holograms replayed the impossible moment. The missiles dissolving into thin air, the fighters being pushed away by an unseen force, the calm human voice telling them to go home. Some officers whispered, "Is this magic?" Others whispered, "Is this the end of the Dominion?" The Emperor, however, refused to show weakness. His voice was low and dangerous. "Humans think they can frighten us," he said. "We will answer with fire." He raised his clawed hand. "Prepare the Titan fleet." At these words, the hall fell into silence. Even the strongest Varkon warriors looked at each other with worry. The Titan fleet was their ultimate force, 50 giant battleships, each the size of a small moon. It was only used once every century. If they were calling it now, the Dominion truly felt threatened. The human flagship stands alone. Meanwhile, the human final flagship floated silently across the stars. It didn't change course. It didn't increase speed. It didn't prepare weapons. It simply waited. Captain Aiden Rourke stood inside the command chamber, hands behind his back. Around him, glowing maps showed the movement of the Titan fleet. "They're gathering faster than expected," Rourke said. Eve, the ship's AI, responded quietly. "Fear makes enemies move quickly." Rourke nodded. "Can we avoid this fight?" "We cannot. The Dominion believes war is their right." The captain sighed. "Then we give them a lesson they will never forget." He lowered himself into the command chair. Eve, begin defense protocol Delta 1. Blue lines of energy spread across the ship's armor plates. They pulsed, shimmered, and locked in place. The flagship did not prepare to attack. It prepared to endure. A peaceful giant ready to face a storm. The Titan fleet arrives. On the edge of Varkon territory, space darkened. One by one, massive Varkon battleships appeared out of warp. They were huge, with burning red engines and armor so thick it could withstand supernova blasts. Their leader was Admiral Zarkin, the most feared warlord in the Dominion. His voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. "Today, we crush the human threat. Today, the Dominion proves its power." The battleships aligned, forming a wall of red metal. Their cannons glowed bright as they charged. Admiral Zarkin raised his arm. "Fire everything." A storm erupted. Thousands of plasma beams, hundreds of nuclear cores, dozens of gravity torpedoes, all rushing toward one target, the human final flagship. Inside the command chamber, the ship's sensors lit up. Eve spoke calmly. "Impact in 3 seconds." Rourke didn't move. "Shields ready." "Always." The storm hit. For a moment, the universe turned into blinding white. The attacks shook nearby space, melting asteroids, cracking planets, and sending shockwaves across the system. When the light faded, the Varkon fleet waited for the smoke to clear. They expected to see wreckage. They expected to see fire. Instead, the human ship appeared slowly through the fading glow, completely unharmed. Not a single scratch. Aiden Rourke opened his eyes and spoke softly. "Eve, give them a reply." A pulse of pure blue light spread from the flagship. It moved outward like a silent wave. When it passed through the Titan fleet, every enemy ship froze. Engines powered down. Weapons shut off. Lights flickered. Systems collapsed. Admiral Zarkin stood frozen in shock. What did they do?" His ship went dark. Eve spoke across all channels. "Your weapons are disabled. Your ships are disabled. No more war today." The entire Titan fleet was left powerless, drifting helplessly in space. Inside the war hall, the Emperor watched in silent horror. This is impossible," he whispered. "How can one human ship bring my empire to its knees?" The answer came moments later, as Rourke sent a final message. "We did not come to destroy you. We came to end your rule of fear." The war had changed forever. The destruction of the Titan fleet's systems shocked the galaxy. News traveled faster than light. In hidden corners of space, small alien species whispered in disbelief. Entire rebel groups celebrated silently. Even criminal networks paused their fights to listen to the broadcast replaying again and again. Your weapons are disabled. Your ships are disabled. No more war today. Those calm words shook the Dominion more than 1,000 explosions. Inside the Varkon Palace, the Emperor's rage filled the air like fire. He stared at the projection of his frozen Titan fleet, powerless, drifting like toys in space. "Ow," he growled. "How can humans do this? What technology could break an entire armada in seconds?" No one in the chamber had an answer. Scientists, generals, and advisors kept their heads low. None dared speak. Then a small, trembling voice came from the back of the room. Your Majesty, I have a theory." The Emperor turned slowly. "Speak." The scientist stepped forward with shaking hands. What we saw was not simple energy. It was not a weapon. It was gravity manipulation. Several officers gasped. The scientist continued. "Humans have unlocked a power the Dominion believed impossible. They're bending the fabric of space itself. They're shaping reality around their ship." The Emperor's claws tightened. "Then we steal it." The scientist swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, we cannot steal it. We cannot even understand it." The Emperor's voice grew dangerously quiet. "Then we will destroy it." Inside the final flagship, the secret revealed. While fear spread across the Dominion, the human flagship remained calm. Inside the command chamber, Captain Aiden Rourke stood beside a glowing cylinder, the heart of the ship. The chronocore, a swirling sphere of blue-white energy, floated inside the glass. It pulsed like a living heart. This was the source of the ship's power, the reason it could bend gravity, shut down weapons, and move through space like a ghost. Eve appeared beside Rourke as a hologram. "The Dominion will not surrender easily." "I know," Rourke replied gently. "But they must understand. We didn't build this ship to conquer them. We built it to survive," Eve said. Rourke nodded. Humanity had suffered greatly in the past. Their worlds were burned, their people scattered, their technology stolen. The old attack that nearly destroyed Earth became the reason humans united. They learned the truth. Peace without strength is only a dream. So humanity began building their strength, not for revenge, but to protect themselves from future monsters. Now the galaxy was finally seeing the result. The Dominion's final plan. Deep inside the Dominion's command vault, the Emperor gathered his elite council. His voice was sharp, cold, and filled with hatred. "We cannot defeat the flagship alone. We need something stronger." An advisor whispered, "Your Majesty, there is one weapon we never used." The room gasped. Everyone knew what he meant. The Abyss Cannon, a colossal superweapon buried inside the Dominion's oldest fortress. It was built centuries ago, but never fired because it tore apart everything around it, even the space it targeted. "It is unstable," one general warned. "If we fire it, the entire star system may collapse." The Emperor's eyes glowed dark red. "Then let the system collapse," he said. "We will sacrifice anything to destroy this human ship." The officers exchanged terrified looks. This was no longer about war. It was about the Emperor's pride. The flagship detects the threat. Back aboard the human flagship, Eve suddenly spoke. "Captain," a massive energy surge detected. Rourke turned quickly. "Location: inside Varkon core territory," Eve replied. "It is unlike anything in our records." Rourke's breath tightened. "What kind of energy?" Eve paused. Even she seemed uncertain. "It is destructive. Not like a weapon. More like a tear in space." Rourke stepped closer to the map. "Are they insane? That much power could kill their own people." "Yes," Eve said softly. "It is a suicide weapon." Rourke clenched his fists. The Emperor would rather destroy his own empire than let humans win. Then he spoke the words that marked the next turning point. "Eve, prepare for full combat mode. We're going into the heart of the Dominion." The flagship's engines roared softly, and the ship turned toward the danger, toward the Abyss Cannon, toward the final battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. The human final flagship moved like a silent storm across the stars. Its engines hummed with steady blue light as it cut through the void, heading straight toward the Varkon core sector. Every human on board knew what waited for them. The Abyss Cannon, a weapon powerful enough to tear open space itself. Captain Aiden Rourke stood at the front of the command chamber, watching the swirling star map projected before him. Red warning symbols flashed across the screen. "Eve," he said, "show me the energy spike again." Eve appeared, her hologram glowing faintly. "The cannon is reaching full charge. When it fires, the spatial tear will consume the entire sector. And the Dominion is willing to sacrifice that." Rourke asked. "Yes," Eve replied. "They fear losing power more than losing lives." Rourke felt a cold anger rising. Then this ends now. The Varkon Emperor's last gamble. Inside the darkest fortress of the Dominion, the Abyss Cannon hummed like a star about to explode. Rivers of red energy raced through enormous pipes, and the air vibrated with the sound of death. The Emperor stood before the huge window overlooking the cannon chamber. His eyes burned with fury. "Prepare to fire," he commanded. His generals hesitated. One finally stepped forward. "Your Majesty, firing will destroy our own homeworld." The Emperor turned slowly, his voice colder than space. "Better my world dies than the humans live." The general bowed his head. "Yes, Your Majesty." The Emperor clenched his fist. "Humans dared to challenge us. We will show them what true power is." Behind him, the Abyss Cannon's core began to glow brighter, hotter, faster. The countdown started. 20 minutes until activation. Approaching the fortress. The final flagship exited warp space near the Varkon home system. Immediately, alarms echoed across the command chamber. Multiple enemy fleets detected, Eve reported. 70 destroyers, 27 cruisers, 3 dreadnoughts. Rourke leaned forward. "All between us and the cannon?" "Yes." "Then we go through them." He activated the ship-wide channel. "All crew prepare for combat. We stop the cannon or the galaxy burns." Across the ship, soldiers locked their armor. Engineers took positions, and weapon systems hummed with blue light. Outside the ship, the Varkon blockade filled the sky. Hundreds of ships forming a wall of red metal. Then they charged. Laser storms, plasma waves, torpedo trails. The blockade unleashed everything. Inside the flagship, Eve remained calm. Shields at 98%. Rourke nodded. "Begin counterstrike, non-lethal." A wave of blue energy burst from the flagship, rolling forward like a quiet tsunami. When it touched the enemy ships, their systems instantly shut down. Engines died. Weapons dimmed. Giant dreadnoughts drifted helplessly. Rourke watched the Varkon ships fall silent. "They're not our enemy," he whispered. "Their emperor is." Eve responded gently. "Compassion is rare in war, Captain." He gave a small smile. "That's what makes us human." The Abyss awakens. As the flagship pushed deeper into Varkon space, the sky changed. Stars stretched unnaturally. Light bent in strange directions. Space itself trembled as if it were afraid. Eve's voice grew softer. "The cannon is close and activating." The giant fortress soon appeared. Dark spires rose from a cracked planet, and at its center was the Abyss Cannon, a massive rotating cylinder swallowing light itself. Rourke whispered, "It's worse than I imagined." Eve's tone changed. "Captain, the cannon is at 90% charge." Rourke stepped forward. "Can we disable it?" "Not from here. We must get closer." Just then, a giant red beam shot across the sky, barely missing the flagship. The weapon was already testing its power, tearing holes in space as it fired. Another shot ripped through an empty moon, cracking it in half. Rourke grabbed the controls. "All power to forward shields. We're ending this." The final wall. As the flagship moved toward the cannon, the last line of defense appeared. 5 Varkon Royal Guard ships, ancient and monstrous, each one a relic of an old war. They surrounded the flagship. "Captain," Eve warned, "these ships do not fear death. They will ram us if necessary." Rourke's eyes hardened. "Then we'll show them what humanity stands for." The Royal Guard charged. Rourke stood tall. "Eve, full power." "Yes, Captain." Blue light burst from the flagship, brighter than ever before. The ship glowed like a newborn star, as energy surged across its armor plates. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The human final flagship burned like a star as it faced the last line of Varkon defense. The 5 Royal Guard ships, old and massive, rushed forward with the fury of dying beasts. Their red engines flared like fire, pushing toward the flagship with deadly intent. Captain Aiden Rourke stood at the command podium, his eyes locked on the battle ahead. "Eve," he said, voice steady, "they're going to ram us." "Yes," the AI replied softly. "They will die for their emperor. They believe destruction is honor." Rourke clenched his jaw. "Then let's show them a different kind of honor." He raised his hand. "Non-lethal countermeasure, full power." Eve's voice echoed through the chamber. "Confirmed." A wave of blinding blue energy surged out from the flagship. It raced toward the Royal Guard ships, surrounding them like a glowing storm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, their engines faded, their weapons dimmed, their ships slowed. One by one, the Royal Guard vessels drifted apart, gently pulled away by invisible gravity fields. They floated harmlessly, still intact, their crews alive. Rourke exhaled. "Good. We don't kill those who obey orders. We stop those who give them." With the final defense gone, the flagship pressed forward. Ahead of them, the abyss cannon glowed like a wounded sun. It trembled under its own power. Dark energy spiraled around it, warping space and tearing small holes in the sky. Inside the fortress, the Emperor stood proudly on a high platform, watching his monstrous weapon charge. "Let the galaxy burn," he whispered. "Let everything burn before humans rule." The cannon reached 99% power. The final charge. "Eve," Rourke said, voice sharp, "bring us to the cannon. Direct path. Maximum shields." The flagship accelerated. Blue light wrapped around its hull, and the ship pushed forward like a spear of light. Plasma storms whipped across space. The gravity around the cannon bent violently, trying to tear the ship apart. Eve's voice flickered. Shields dropping, 80%, 70. "Aiden," she warned, "if we get any closer." "We don't have a choice," Rourke said. "If that weapon fires, everything ends." The flagship reached the edge of the distortion field. Space twisted like liquid. Stars warped into spirals. Inside the fortress, alarms screamed. "Object approaching," a Varkon general shouted. "It's the human flagship." The Emperor snarled. "Fire the cannon." "But it's not fully stable." "Fire." The control panel lit up with red light. The fortress shook. The sky ripped open. The abyss cannon fired. A colossal beam of black-red energy tore toward the flagship like the end of the universe. Aiden Rourke's last decision. Inside the flagship, warning sirens blared. "Impact in 3 seconds." Eve shouted. Rourke closed his eyes. Then he spoke the words that changed everything. "Eve, release the chrono core." The AI froze. "Aiden, if we release it, the ship will not survive." "I know, and you may not survive." Rourke smiled sadly. "Humanity will. That's all that matters." He placed his hand on the glowing control panel. "You do it." Silence. Then, "Yes, Captain." The core released. A sphere of pure blue energy detached from the ship, floating in front of the flagship like a tiny star. The abyss cannon's deadly beam hit the chrono core head-on. Light exploded, blue against red, hope against destruction, life against death. The clash tore open the sky, shaking the entire system. And then, a shockwave spread in all directions. The cannon shattered. The fortress collapsed. The Emperor was thrown to the ground, staring in horror as his weapon died. "Impossible," he whispered. "Impossible." The final flagship was thrown backward, its armor burning, systems failing. Eve's voice flickered. "Aiden, we stopped it." Rourke smiled weakly. "Good job." The ship drifted silently as the light faded. A new dawn. When the dust settled, the abyss cannon was gone. The Emperor's fortress was gone. The Dominion's power was broken. Across the galaxy, species celebrated. They looked to the stars, knowing who saved them. Days later, the surviving Varkon officers contacted the human fleet. "We surrender," they said quietly. "The war is over." Humanity did not celebrate with fire or victory chants. They simply sent one message to every world. The galaxy will no longer live in fear. The final flagship, damaged but still glowing softly, became a symbol of hope. A reminder of the day one ship, one crew, and one human captain faced the greatest darkness and ended it. And in the silent stars, the galaxy whispered the name of the hero who changed everything. Aiden Rourke, the man who stood against the abyss.